for everything our kids do in school and beyond. When children read well, it prepares them for success beyond the classroom.
And the good news, families. That's one things we do at home. Read together, talking about work, or even sharing stories. That can help kids become stronger
A brighter future. If we want to give our children a brighter future, we have to ensure they become strong leaders today.
And that's why we're inviting such learners.
Mark your calendars for Tuesday, September 23rd, 2025 at 5:30 p.m. in the Forest Park High School Media Center, 5452 Phillips Drive, Forest Park, Georgia 30297.
You'll hear from amazing speakers, and parents and students will share real tips on promoting literacy at home.
Attendees can enjoy free literacy resources, pizza, popsicles, and even on-site childcare.
Come learn how together we can help our students read their way to a brighter future. Strong readers, strong futures.
We hope to see you there. ¿Sabían que la lectura es el base para todo de lo que nuestros hijos hacen en la escuela y más allá? Cuando los niños leen bien, se preparan para el éxito más allá de la clase.
Y las buenas noticias, las familias, las escuelas y las comunidades pueden trabajar juntos para marcar una verdadera diferencia.
Aprender a leer va más allá de la responsabilidad de la escuela. Comienza en casa con las familias y crece con el apoyo de excelentes maestros y programas comunitarios.
Cosas sencillas que hacemos en la casa, como leer juntos, hablar sobre palabras o incluso compartir historias, puede ayudar a los niños a convertirse en buenos lectores.
Si queremos darle a nuestros hijos un futuro mejor, deberemos asegurarnos de que convierten en buenos lectores hoy mismo.
Y es por eso que te invitamos a unirte a nosotros en el próximo Hablemos de Alfabetización sesión.
Marque sus calendarios para martes 23 de septiembre del 2025 a las 5:30 en el Centro de Medios, Forest Park High School, 5452 Phillips Drive, Forest Park, Georgia 30297.
Escucharán a oradores increíbles y padres y estudiantes compartirán consejos reales sobre cómo promover la alfabetización en el hogar.
Los asistentes pueden disfrutar en recursos de alfabetización gratuitos, pizza, paletas, helados e incluso cuidado de niños en el lugar.
Ven a descubrir cómo juntos podemos ayudar a nuestros estudiantes a leer para alcanzar su futuro mejor. Lectores fuertes, futuros fuertes.
Esperamos verte allí.
The problem is teachers telling us to be quiet. And when they do want us to use our words, a lot of us don't have any. They want us to stop talking and pay attention. But I can't if I'm afraid I'll make them mad. We know that there are times when you need our attention. But if we keep on being quiet, we never learn how to use our words. And they will fall further and further behind. Let me show you where it starts. That's my friend on the changing table. There's our teacher, Miss Ellis. She always took good care of me, but I wish she would have talked with me. She just didn't know it was important. No one told her. This is the time that you need to start talking with children. We are beginning to put words together even though you may not understand us yet. So we want to learn from you. But the talking shouldn't stop there. That's Miss Fredericks. She never told me to be quiet, but she did tell me to catch a bubble or to zip it.
I need you to catch a bubble. You need to stop talking. It is way too loud in the room.
Catch a bubble? Are you kidding me? Why couldn't she just ask me to listen? Now, where do you think we'll be when we get to the 3rd grade? We're gonna be behind. That's what's gonna happen. School's gonna be hard for us. We'll have trouble with reading, trouble with writing, trouble with everything. Yeah, for a lifetime. And that's why we need you. We need you to give our voices power. And here's how you can help us. When you're changing diapers, tell us about your day. Tell us about what you're doing.
What did you enjoy doing today when we went outside?
We love to hear your voice and new words. And when you want our attention, try singing to us. Or try this. Listen up. What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? See what I mean? Don't be afraid to use big words with us. We have big ideas, and we need big words to share these ideas with you. And support our home language. It only takes a little effort on your part. You can learn a few words to greet us.
Buenos dias. Hola. How are you?
Good.
Good. You ready to put your backpack up? You can take it out.
Now that's not so hard, is it? First of all, get down on our level. Talk with us. Use your words. Ask us what we think, not what color a banana is. Give us the words that we need to solve problems on our own. We need you to make us a promise. We need you to promise us that you'll never tell us to be quiet again.
I need you to catch a bubble. You need to stop talking.
Why would you want to silence us? Can you promise us? Can you pinky promise us?
Oh, no, not this one. This is the grand finale of this. Yeah, that's the last one. That's what I was wondering. I don't know what they're gonna do next season because they did some stuff this time. Exactly what I was thinking. Oh yeah. Right. Don't bring that again. You know what I'm saying? Don't do the same stuff. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I was thinking that. Yeah. Yeah. Like go somewhere else with that, but don't bring it here. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's what I said. And then it was like, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, what in the world? But don't do it here. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Yeah. Really? I thought the same thing. We think a lot alike, huh? Come on. That's crazy. Right.
Good evening, everyone. I am Dr. Ebony Lee, the Chief Communications Officer for Clayton County Public Schools, and on behalf of the Clayton County Board of Education and our Superintendent, CEO of Schools, Dr. Anthony W. Smith, I am thrilled to welcome you to our second episode of Let's Talk Literacy. The purpose of these ongoing conversations is to raise awareness and to also discuss practical ways that we can partner together to ensure that all of our students become confident readers. We know that literacy is the master key that opens doors of opportunity, and all of our students deserve the gift so that they can thrive. In Clayton County Public Schools, we believe in the triangle, where home, community, and schools are working collectively to ensure our students are ready. Tonight, we're excited to dive further into the benefits of all of the efforts that we're taking in Clayton County Public Schools to raise readers. Let's Talk Literacy was a vision of our superintendent. And at this time, I would like to welcome him to bring greetings and also to introduce our panel members. Let's welcome Dr. Anthony W. Smith.
Thank you, Dr. Lee. Appreciate that introduction. Thank y'all for being here this evening. What a glorious day it is to be amongst so many wonderful educators, students, community members, and experts in the field of literacy to join with us in our second episode of Let's Talk Literacy. Now, the first episode, I was the speaker and one of the panel members, along with other individuals, and it was a very successful, engaging episode. We're expecting nothing less with episode 2 that I'll be passing off to my dear friend and colleague of over 25 years, our Senior Deputy Superintendent, Chief of Schools, Dr. Douglas Hendricks. Let's give it up for Dr. Hendricks. And joining him today will be a phenomenal individual that I had the pleasure of meeting about just over a year ago, and I just felt his passion. I mean, his desire for students across the globe, but with a special emphasis on communities like ours, putting emphasis on early literacy. Now, y'all heard my story about me and my brothers growing up in Southwest Atlanta and bounced around from community to community, and we always, first thing we did was got a library card, and we had structured time for reading. It is absolutely one of the contributing factors for me standing before you today as a successful man and as your superintendent. I credit those days where we sat and sacrificed time when all of our friends were out playing. My brother saw the wisdom and insight for us to have structured time to read daily. And I'm certainly benefiting from his insight. But we have with us Mr. Comer Yates, who is the Executive Director for the Rollins Center at the Atlanta Speech School, a renowned individual that is an expert in the field of literacy, and we're so fortunate to have him with us today. So let's give it up for Mr. Comer Yates, y'all. And also we have two phenomenal individuals. We have a parent. We have with us today Miss Elisa Cortez Everett with us today. She will be one of the panel members as well. We're so pleased to have you with us today, ma'am. Thank you so very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join in such an important event. And we have a super special guest, y'all. We have one of our own students, the beautiful Miss Libby Lemus Rivera, who will also be a panel member. Please stand up, beautiful lady. Isn't she gorgeous? And we want to thank you for joining us today. I know you will provide a lot of insight for this group and so many wonderful students that will be tuning in. All right? Thank you so much for joining us. All right. Well, I'm not going to prolong this. We want to hear from these experts and get some good tidbits about what we can do to be able to continue this journey and making certain that our students are proficient in reading at an early age. Y'all all know how the connection goes with being able to be a strong reader at an early age. It connects to so many subject matters and life. So this is super important, and I'm so glad that Clayton County Public Schools is putting strong emphasis on early literacy with our episode 2. So thank you again for being here, and I'll pass the mic back to our very own Dr. Ebony Lee, who's chief of our communication department, along with her extraordinary staff that are in support of this event. I certainly want to thank our early literacy team. I don't want to start calling names because I'll leave someone off, but you know how near and dear you are to me and this important subject matter. Dr. Lee.
Thank you. Let's acknowledge our superintendent once again. And so everyone, now it's time to Let's Talk Literacy. So I would like to call the panel up, Dr. Douglas Hendricks Sr. and Mr. Comer Yates. Let's welcome them once more. So Dr. Smith, first, you all, thank you for taking time to be here. And I know, Mr. Yates, you had to drive quite a ways to be here. So this also speaks to your commitment to this very important matter around literacy. So once again, thank you.
It's my privilege.
So before we get into the heart of the questions, I want to get into your heart around literacy. So when you think back to your earlier experiences or background, what created in you this fire, this passion, this commitment with ensuring we raise breeders? And I'll start with you, Dr. Hendricks.
Start with me. Well, first of all, good afternoon, everybody. It is certainly a pleasure to be here. My early journey with literacy, I would say, was birthed out of the difficult times that sometimes were a part of my life. There were many days when the sun didn't shine as bright as it should have, and reading was my way of escaping those situations. It was my way of transporting myself into another world and being able to see things that I might not have seen through people who were role models. It was a way of me learning new things and taking my mind to different places so that I could actually cope through the realities that I was dealing with. And it was also about my mom, who I could see, although she wouldn't say this to me, I could see when she read her Harlequin romance books, those nice novels that she used to read from time to time, that she was doing the same thing, because our lives wasn't always the ones that most people would want. But we read to escape, and that escape was beautiful. And we talk about what we read. And we talk and talk and talk about what we read until it seems like I read the book that she read, the parts she would tell me about. And she would read the things that I would read, which would be books about Daniel Boone and other people who were my heroes at the time. So it was about escaping for me.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Mr. Yates.
Really the moment for me occurred in 1989. When I was, and that's not when I was a child. Yes, I was 37 years old, and I encountered Clayton County over and over again in this role as the mock trial coach at Farrell High School for over 20 years. And Jonesboro High School was the premier school in the state for mock trial. And in that experience, I coached a number of people, a number of just brilliant students. And in mock trial, to make it a short thing, there are 6 witnesses in a mock trial, and each witness has a 2-page affidavit. So in mock trial, there are 12 pages of information and language that you have to acquire to be on a level playing field against other schools. And we would practice, what, do I need to turn it on?
Yes, sir.
Is it on now? No. Do you want to turn it on? I'm sorry. I'm sort of a one-trick pony. Okay. Thank you so much. Anyway, in my trial, there are 12 pages of facts and information and vocabulary. And whether or not a child can read proficiently or a high school student can read proficiently really isn't relevant, because if you got 4 months to practice, you can master the universe of 12 pages and be on a level playing field with someone who has had access to literacy, has been in a school where they understood how to teach literacy, teach children to read. And so in 1989, we had a student who had absolutely humiliated the students at Westminster High School in the regional competition, kids who would probably have made 750 or something on the verbal SAT. And he came in on Monday to practice for the state competition, and he said, I got my SAT score back. And I said, what'd you make? And he said 400 on the verbal. And I was stunned by that. And then I realized what was going on, that here is somebody who had every capability of deciding his own future. And in mock trial, in the world of 12 pages, he was in total command of his identity in the face of other people's attack. But in a world where educational opportunity depends on your race, zip code, and ethnicity, he was denied that ability to have a voice. And it took him 30 years to graduate from college. But it was his persistence, it was his courage, it was his ability that he demonstrated in mock trial. And now he earned a master's degree. But it was, he had to beat the odds when the odds never should have been against him in the first place. And what Clayton County is, and so that brings me to today, where we've got to stop talking about children who somehow beat the odds. We have to decide we're ready to change the odds for all children, because we know exactly what to do that.
That's right, yes, and that's why we partnered with you, Mr. Gates, with the Rollins Center and Atlanta Speed School to ensure that we're firming up that foundation from the beginning for our youth. I know as I move to the next question, many people probably assume that when a student spends 12 to 13 years in a school system, they automatically graduate as readers. That's just, if I, were to poll common people, they assume students leave as readers. But what the data consistently is saying is that only a third of our fourth graders nationwide are proficient. And only about half of adults can read above a sixth grade level. So there's a larger issue here. And so that brings me to one of my first questions, to start with you, Dr. Hendricks. When you think about that data that's beyond our local data, what are some of the barriers to ensuring that all students, more of our students, are reading on or above grade level? And how are you using your platform to address those issues?
Thank you for that question. It all fits under the word inequity of access, which includes a lot of things. I mean, we could have conversations about poverty. We can have conversations that are as simplistic as how much parents are available to talk to their students and that kind of thing. We can take it to the schoolhouse and we can talk about the inconsistency of instruction. Those things are barriers as well. Or we could go and we could talk about the supports within the community that sometimes suffer. There's not a tutoring program in every community. And so it's those things that create this start-stop situation where sometimes students end up with a good teacher who teaches well, and then the next year there's a lack of the explicit instruction needed to carry that work on. Sometimes that happens multiple years in a row. And so what we're trying to do about that now is our K-1 initiative, where we've partnered with the Rollins Center. And we've decided that every student in K-1, and we're going to reach back and we're going to get the pre-Ks, which are the 3-year-olds, and the pre-K students who are the 4-year-olds, and bring them into a situation where most of their day, most of their week, most of their time of their schooling is used learning literacy skills, using the science of reading. We're going to be training our teachers and not our teachers, but our coaches, our teachers as well, but our teachers, our coaches, and our administrators in the science of reading. We're going to make sure that they have some foundational skills in math, but the main thing is about the literacy work, and we're going to be communicating with our parents about how they can help us. Because our goal is after first grade, we have the majority of our students reading. And these are pivotal years. And so we're going to continue that work, and we're going to see if we can't make a difference. We know that if we can improve our fidelity, make sure that people are trained consistently, that we could be very successful with our students. But these things are intuitive to us, and they make great sense that we build their foundation so that they can carry that into the rest of their school career and their life, starting with oral language, because that's the soil from which all learning births and blooms. So.
Thank you, Dr. Hendricks. So as our viewers are listening and others in the audience, we can have total confidence that Clayton County Public Schools is investing in the foundation of our youth to ensure that they continue to move through our school system as stronger readers, going from learning to read to eventually being able to read to learn.
That is correct.
Thank you. Mr. Yates?
So here's a question. I'm a former teacher myself. So I'd just like to ask y'all your guesses. I hope we don't know each other, but I hope you can. One of the most important things for children, if you think about literacy, is to be in classrooms where children feel safe to take risks, because they're learning who they are, not learning to be who somebody else, including their teacher, wants them to be. So I hope you can imagine that you're in a safe place with me and where no guess is wrong. It's just trying to figure out. So what percentage of America's teachers, elementary school teachers, say that the survey was done 3 years ago, say they learned how to teach reading when they went to college or to graduate school to become teachers? What's your guess? What percentage of teachers say, when I went to Vanderbilt or I went to such and such a college, they taught me how to teach reading? Does anyone want to try a guess? What percentage? Yes, 10. Anybody else? 70. And what else? 60. All right, anybody else got another guess? 20, okay. 7, okay. And your name is? Well, I guess if this was the Price is Right with Bob Barker or anybody else, you wouldn't have won because you went over the actual retail price, but you were closest, and it's 5%. So basically, we have a broken higher ed system that the University of Georgia, I'll ask you this, all the universities in Georgia were rated on how well they are teaching their students who are going to be teachers to teach reading. And last year, what score did the University of Georgia, our flagship university, get for how well it's training its students to teach reading? They're only like 6 grades. Anybody want to take a shot at it? It's a grade with which I'm too familiar from my time in high school, and that's a big F. And almost every university in Georgia received an F. There's a science to teach children to read, and our universities have failed our teachers. And imagine showing up every day knowing that children have put their trust in you, and you've been denied the ability to impact their lives. And then the other part of it is look at it historically here in the South. Just to say simply, to understand the depth of this, if we were holding this meeting anytime before and on April 9th, 1865, we would all be arrested for being here. Because we are here talking about every child's right to read. And until April 9th, 1865, there was a purposeful effort to deny the ability to read, and most importantly, what Frederick Douglass said, once you learn to read, you'll be forever free, to deny children freedom. And ever since then, we've never made the kind of promise to defeat those forces demanded to take them on and overpower them. And that's what Clayton County is seeking to do.
Yes, thank you. Can we give our panel a hand so far just for being very thoughtful and committed to this work? So I'm giving an echo.
Can I add just one quick thing?
Yes.
In our work in partnership with Clayton County, y'all need to understand as constituents and members of the Clayton County community, is not like Clayton County needs to improve itself. The funder for this work is saying, where is a county who will totally commit to its children and their liberation in every moment of every day with the community to drive change for every child in America? It's really, really important to know that that's the basis that we're here. We are betting on Clayton County.
And
for all children.
The evidence of that, and even in this room, we have community, we have parents, we have our superintendent, we have our core cabinet, we have principals, we have teachers, specialists. And so you just see the total picture of what happens when you have all hearts and minds coming together around the civil right. I want to go back to something Dr. Hendricks referenced earlier around talking. oral language development. And I'll start with you, Mr. Yates. Dr. Hendricks described oral language, or simply meaningful talk, as the fertile ground, the soil from which all reading flourishes. Could you speak more about what is oral language development? What is it? And why is that so instrumental, or the precondition to becoming a reader?
Yeah, so if we think about language and communication, oral language, conversation back and forth is the foundation for it. And then it's reading comes next, and at the top of the language food chain is writing. And so oral language serves as the foundation. And then with oral language, we learn to read. With oral language, does anybody want to take a guess for a new car? Not really a new car, but imagine you're using a car. How many sounds are there in the English language? Anybody got a guess? It's the same number as Hank Aaron used to wear. 44, there you go. A Hank Aaron fan and a literacy fan. There are 44 sounds. And in the first 5 years of life, in addition to those 44 sounds, in addition to vocabulary, we are building those little, like atoms of English. We are forming those phonemes. And when we get to pre-K or kindergarten, then we learn to map those 44 sounds onto 26 letters, right? And that is the start of reading. But you have to have this foundation of the 44 sounds of the English language. Now the question that you ask is, when do children start mapping those 44 sounds of our language? There are about 20 less in Spanish, it varies. But when do children first start mapping the sounds of the language? Anybody know?
Infancy.
What's an infancy? Anybody got earlier than infancy? In the womb. In the last trimester of pregnancy, when the auditory channel is complete, mom's sounds, the baby is already mapping those sounds. And much more importantly, when we talked about reading, you said learning. Language is the means by which our whole brain circuitry is formed. We are social beings. So it's that language that starts from the very first moment of birth that tells children that they are safe and they're connected. So it's this serve and return of language that then leads to reading that has to be the foundation. And we'll talk more about that as we go into a couple other questions. But that is the starting point for reading.
So, Mr. Yates, when you think about, you mentioned serve and return. So we have parents who we want to extend the literacy beyond the school day.
Right.
Could you speak more about the serve and return method that gets students engulfed in language development? And we have a slide that shows some of the processes on there.
Yeah, it's the strategy is called the talk strategy, and the first strategy with your child is to tune in and to pay attention. I notice, I see, I observe, I try to find my way into your world by something that matters to you. And so I ask an open-ended question to you, and I hope, it's like fishing, that I hope I catch something that you share that you're doing. I'm building a tower, okay? And then so now I'm going to ask an open-ended question. And it's not, oh, I see your tower's blue, or I see your tower's red. It's an open, how long have you been working on that? I notice that, gosh, it's so tall. And now I try to lift the language. Instead of saying tower, what's a more complex word for a big tower? A skyscraper. You're constructing, you're not building, you're constructing a skyscraper. And then you say, do I then say as a parent, that's the most beautiful skyscraper I've ever seen. You are brilliant. Do I say that? No! No! Because when I say that to the child, who is the child looking for to determine who they are? They're looking to the parent to judge them instead of, gosh, I noticed you compliment, you notice the effort, but you look for the child to find the strength there, and then you try to keep it going. Serve and return means you pass language back and forth. I notice, I'm wondering, I'm seeing, and then get that serve and return going. That is building circuitry. That is wiring the really deep cognitive spaces of the brain. Without that language, I'm afraid that the activity in your child's brain is in their brain stem around fight or flight. There's this thing called the still face still face experiment I can do with Superintendent Smith, because our daughter just had a new grandbaby the other day, in fact on Saturday night. So there's this experiment where if you'll be my baby. All right, but there's this experiment where I'm talking, this video, if you just do the still face experiment, where dad or mom is talking with the baby, and the baby is smiling and cooing, and the mom's noticing, or dad's noticing, when he looks at me, he's returning my serve of love and connection and babbling. But then, in this still face experiment, the mom turns away. And what does the baby do? Starts screaming and grasping and becomes desperate. Does the baby feel safe anymore? No. And so the only place they can go to feel safe is in their brainstem, and now the only thing they can do is fight or flight. And when that happens to children, then they've lost control of their worlds. And that affirmation from parents is not only about language, but it all starts with connection. Yes. And we'll get to that in a minute.
Yes, and as a part of one of our literacy strategies, we talk about talking on the go. And the question that we're trying to answer through Let's Talk Literacy is, how do I feasibly emphasize and support literacy beyond the school day? And talking on the go, you're talking and you're reinforcing and you're noticing print-rich environments. And that starts, as you mentioned, at conception or later in the trimester, but also at infancy when when they're babies. And even though they're not responding back verbally, they're taking all of that in. And so one of the takeaways that we're hoping is that students, that parents and community, everyone, we're talking to our children. Which brings me to the next question. We know that we're in an era of advanced technology. I look around, we're using our phones to video, of course, but we may be checking on social media, and the phones are a portable distraction, even though there's so many benefits. But when you think about where we are in our era of technology and AI and virtual reality, how do we still keep learning to read as a priority?
Absolutely. Well, I see children here, and I know some of my colleagues have children, and I know I'm not from Mars. I know I'm not the only one who from time to time handed my child a cell phone or gave them the iPads and allowed that to be a voice of calm or something that kept them busy. But here's the honest truth about that. Technology cannot and should not replace literacy. It cannot. It can enhance it. A screen can show you context and information, but it cannot teach children to critically think. And so it's very important that we use technology and we keep literacy involved in the technology process, but it should be the guide. ChatGPT, I was having this discussion with a colleague. How many people use ChatGPT?
Be honest.
Be honest. And it's okay to use it.
That's right.
But here's my question to you. Do you replace your brain with what ChatGPT can do? Do you simply ask it to do something for you, or do you place ideas in it? Both. That's the difference. You say both? Okay, and that's fine. But in the right situation, if there's no context for what you're doing, maybe that's a good strategy. But when it comes to critically thinking and having ideas, you should be placing your ideas in there, not giving up your brain for the technology. Here's a truth for you. There is no way, absolutely no way, that technology will ever replace the work of an effective teacher. It will never be able to teach children to empathize. Human skills like expression and questioning cannot be replaced by technology. So in school districts like ours, what we do is we use technology to enhance our work only. And we ask that the parents start to do that too. Don't let your iPad talk to your child more than you do. You know, it's good to have Audible, but sometimes you need to be the Audible that reads to your child and hears them out, right? If children don't read critically, they will not scroll wisely. Okay? We just came up with that.
I'm on it. But who's going to copyright that first? Can I use my phone?
Yes, sir. But that's important, and that's what I would say. We need to make sure that we're using technology as a tool and not replacing our brains with technology.
Thank you. Mr. Yates.
One quick thing to say that everybody needs to understand here is we don't have a single gene in our bodies to read. We don't have a single gene in our brains to read. Reading, please understand for your children, whether you're a parent or an educator, reading is an artificial circuit that became demanded when Gutenberg invented the printing press in 1440. For thousands and thousands of years, we didn't need to read as a society. Now, reading is really defining around whether I am going to live healthier and live longer, what my path in life is going to be. So, but it's not just so that instruction has to happen. But beyond that, we keep saying the same thing. We keep making the same point relative to technology. One scientist I heard this summer said, one of two things is going to happen to children relative to technology. They're either going to be consumed by it or they're going to consume it. And reading, again, is that path, as Dr. Hendricks says, for identity, discovery, curiosity, critical thinking, so that when technology approaches me, will I let it determine who I am, or will I use it for my own purposes? And so that's really at stake. And so people are talking today about how dangerous technology can be for adolescents. For us, we realize how dangerous it is starting from birth. I do carpool every day at our school, and I load children into the car, or I get ready to load them into the car, and I would say a third of the time a parent is on a cell phone when they arrive for their child, and I will keep the door closed. I will not let a child go into a still face experiment because I know the outcome of that experiment. I don't know what happens once I close the door, but we must take a stand. It's that connection from the first that's going to have children be able to use technology effectively if they have deep connections. And the other big thing children need to have is executive function, their ability to self-regulate. Back to oral language, if I had to say one of the biggest barriers to literacy, and this is going to be controversial, but I consider myself a native of the hometown of Martin Luther King, and after 406 years, I cannot understand how we could still tolerate an adult telling a child to be quiet, who's not our own child. Why in the world are we not asking our children to listen and teaching them to listen? When they do, they'll be total quiet because they'll be listening with their ears and their eyes and their brains, and most importantly with their hearts. And when they do, they will be quiet. But it's the power of their voices we're trying to discover. And so that eliminating the silencing of our children after 406 years, some system somewhere has got to say enough's enough. And which side of this conspiracy are we on for children, and help them find their voices? But AI and technology will steal their voices from them if we're not ready for it.
So as we get prepared to close out this portion of the panel discussion, final word. So when you, final message, final word to our viewing audience.
Well, school is a very important place. I'll start there. And the most important thing that we can do in school is become literate. This is not a spectator sport. I would say to our parents that you have to get into the game, and we want to help you get in the game. We want to tell you, and we have information for you here today that tells you how to help us. But here's the thing that I want you to take. You always hear about AI, and AI has two sides of it as it relates to humankind. You can find yourself on the end of it where it replaces jobs and replaces thought and those kind of things, or you can find yourself on the other end where it sends you into a whole new world. You know, what we found, or what's been discovered, is that when you look at Bloom's taxonomy, and I'll give you one piece. Remembering, when you just remember things. If you have a job or a career where you just remember things, that job is most likely to be replaced by AI. It's a simple function that they can train AI to do. But if you're on the end where you're creating things, where you're analyzing things and synthesizing things, you're still in the ball game regardless of AI. In fact, you're probably creating things for AI to do rather than AI taking your situation. That's why it's so important for our kids to lock in and for our parents to lock in and understand that this is more than ever extremely important. And it has to be at the forefront of everything we do, because education, especially literacy, is a civil right. And it will lead to success, and it will lead to freedom, and it will lead to your child reaching their dreams. But we all got to come together and say that we're going to be very adamant about that happening. And children will learn to love to read. And it'll take them to other places and make them be other things. And so we want to partner. This is not just a conversation that ends with a conversation. This is a partnership. And we implore you to get involved. We want you to be involved. This is our fight together. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I recognize that I got 3 minutes, so I'm going to stop in mid-sentence when I get to 6:10. Quickly, what I just can't say enough about is Clayton County's understanding of the science of the construction of a child's reading brain. A lot of talk is about how it starts when children arrive in kindergarten. Again, the construction of a child's reading circuit starts when? In the third trimester. So Clayton County's commitment to birth to 5 education and the center that y'all are building has the ability to be defining for the rest of our state. Right now, our state has just to be blunt, because it's just too important, has a very low standard for what the state defines as quality. Those are not freedom school. 1 star on the door does not mean that a place is a freedom school for children. And it's really important to understand that, and for Clayton County to set a new standard of what birth to 5 education should be like. Birth to 5, you're driving in 4 pilings for your child's brain upon which your child can scaffold for the rest of their lives and not be stuck in a 1-story building. That's language, executive function, critical thinking, and empathy. And you can look at any center and see if they're doing that. If I show up with my 3-year-old child at a center and I say, or let's just say Dr. Hendricks shows up at my center with his child, what's one of your children's name? Dove. Dove. And he shows up with 3-year-old Dove, and he says, gosh, Mr. Yates, get Dove to tell you about what we had for breakfast this morning. He creates this conversation, and then I pick up Dove, and I say, oh gosh, we need to go change Dove's diaper. All right, what do you do with Dove at that point?
Let them know what's about to happen.
You grab Dove and run for her life, because she's going to be with a teacher who doesn't understand the power of connection and language. And we have tolerated that standard for too long. Clayton County is leading the way, birth to 5.
We are leading the way. Thank you. Let's give a round of applause to Dr. Hendricks and Mr. Yates. You all remain up front. And at this time, we want to hear the voice of a parent and one of our students. How many of you had an opportunity to view the promo video where we were advertising about this evening's Let's Talk Literacy? where the two talents that I'm bringing up, Miss Elisa Everett Cortez and Miss Libby Lemus Rivera, they were the talent. And I want to thank Miss Millicent Cruz for allowing us at Haney Elementary to use her wonderful, wonderful parent and student. So let's welcome Miss Everett and Libby to the front. And I'm going to stand up and allow you all to take the first two seats here. So hi, Miss Everett, and hi, Libby. Thank you all again for taking time to be here. And Miss Everett, you have two children in Clayton County Public Schools?
Yes.
Tell us their names and where are they?
So I have Josiah Everett. He's in 6th grade, Batt Middle School.
And I have Aaliyah Everett, and she's in 3rd grade at BC Haney. During the video, Miss Everett, you made a statement. You say learning to read well has to extend beyond the school's sole responsibility. As a parent, how do you embrace your role as your child's first literacy instructor or teacher?
Okay, so personally, as a parent, we want to look to our kids to have fun and want to read. So oftentimes I ask, I let her read what book she likes, and I like to ask her questions about what the book is about and what's her favorite part of the book, just characters in the book, just different types of books, and to read to her a lot as well, because as kids they like to play teacher in the classroom. In the classroom, you play with them, you let them read to you, and then also read to them and help them with words if they don't know the meaning of a word. You let them know what it is so they can understand the book and enjoy it.
And I would like to just share, I have a 3-year-old, and I understand that sometimes life just gets busy, and you're thinking about the other competing priorities, but really literacy and language development are a priority. What advice would you give to parents for how do you get that into the schedule of parenting?
Just taking advantage of opportunities that the schools have. My daughter, she's in 3rd grade. She does the reading bowl, the picture book reading bowl, which is where they give them 20 books to read over the summer because it begins the year before. And then they read over the summer, and then they prepare for a competition in October next month. They'll be going to competition. And so just basically just giving them opportunities that the school give them and resources.
Thank you, Ms. Everett. And I heard our superintendent, Dr. Anthony Smith, say earlier, setting that routine where it becomes just a natural part of your structure at home. This is what we do. We make it enjoyable, giving our students a chance to talk about what they're reading and seeing their imagination just evolve, whether they're reading on their device or reading in print. How many of you prefer the digital device for reading now? How many of you still love a good hard copy book to read? Excellent. So now let's talk to Libby. So Libby, what grade are you in? So Libby is in the 5th grade. So Libby, I would like for you to share, why do you love to read and what do you love to read?
I like to read because I usually like to visualize things, especially fantasy, because it's my favorite genre.
And Libby, so when did you determine and how did you determine your favorite type of reading or category of reading like fantasy? How did you know that's what you like to read?
I know I like to read it because it's like the things I usually think, like I usually think of sunshine, flowers, fairies, and all the fantasy stuff, especially poetry. I like that too.
Okay. And without giving the microphone back, what advice do you have for students who don't know where to get started with reading?
Some advice I have is you ask them what type of things they like. If they're interested in like airplanes, we can take them to nonfiction or fiction.
Thank you, Libby. And we're in Let's Talk Literacy. So far, our setting has always been a library. It is one of the best resources, and the media specialist librarian also is a wonderful, wonderful, the heart of literacy in a school. And so being in the media center, as Libby mentioned, we have all of these books, and you start by asking, what are you interested in? And allow the media specialist or a teacher guide you to sections around those books. But the key is reading. And I love having our students read about what they're interested in, because then you build the utility to read what you have to read at the time that you have to do it. So this concludes our questions for the panel. Let's give all of our panel members a round of applause. And we're going to open it up for Q&A. So what questions do you have? I'm hoping everyone's walking away understanding the urgency, the magnitude of giving this gift of literacy and language to our students, understanding that oral language, talking, meaningful talk has to occur. Based on the research, students entering kindergarten should be able to understand, and Comer, let me know if this is accurate in the science of reading research, 10,000 words entering kindergarten. Not expressive 10,000, but understand, and at least expressing 2,000 words in their own personal vocabulary, with the goal of learning 3,500 new words a year. That's approximately 10 words a day. So I like to quantify things just to really emphasize the point of oral language development and talking meaningful talk. So Q&A. I have Dr. Charmin Johnson, who is our Chief Academic Officer for Early Learning. Let's give her a round of applause who's having to lead the work. Dr. Johnson has volunteered to circulate our microphone for Q&A. So questions for this expert panel representing all areas of the triangle, home, school, and community. Questions? Your questions? Okay.
You mentioned talk skills. Was that an acronym? Because you said tune in.
Tune in, ask open-ended questions. Lift the language, richer tier 2 vocabulary, and then keep it going. Yes.
Thank you.
And there's a slide that we have that shows the strategy, and it's research from Dr. David Dickinson from Vanderbilt University. He calls it Strive for 5, this 5 back and forth. And one thing to think about on that, you don't have to you can sit and hold the child's serve or return. You don't have to bat it back over the net like a tennis ball. You can hold on to it and reflect. And that's really helpful. And for the child to reflect is important. Yes.
Strive for 5. Dr. Johnson?
This is Miss Kenya de Los Angeles. Her daughter is in Edmonds in 5th grade. She wants to know what can she do to help her daughter read, because she's behind, and she said she has a lot of questions in regard to reading, but this is one of the ones that is concerning to her.
One thing, Ms. Everett, I loved what you were talking about, is your child has really developed a mastery of reading. The most important, I love what you suggested, is one thing you have to do is not teach your child to read. You're not an expert, and so if you're trying to get them to sound out letters, or doing things like that, you really are doing it with imprecision, and the last person your child wants to disappoint or fail is you. So just, unless you're a speech language pathologist or trained in reading, you should really stay away from that. It is the conversation that matters. And then with respect to reading, like Ms. Everett does, it's to read to your child. And if your child is struggling with reading, read a book that has rich vocabulary in it. And so, because she may not or he may not be getting that language because she isn't acquiring the language through reading, going back to what Dr. Lee said, these 3,500 words a year, until you're in 3rd grade, those words are coming from direct communication from the teacher. After in third grade and beyond, your children are acquiring that vocabulary from books. So if your child is behind, it's really important to read rich literature that's above their decoding level so that they can learn that, hear that new vocabulary, and have those kind of complex experiences. And if they're a struggling reader, what I would suggest, rather than asking a direct question, Ms. Everett doesn't have to worry about that, her child is in the reading bowl, but instead of asking them what happened, say, I can't figure out why Joe keeps going back to that same place, hoping that something else is going to happen. You show a dilemma that you're experiencing, a conversation with the character, and then let your child solve the dilemma for you, where it's if they don't bite in that tune-in strategy, that's okay. But you're not putting them on the spot by saying, what happened? It's a really powerful thing to do, and really starts building relationally and develops some children taking a risk with answers, because it's a safe place to give an answer, even if they're wrong. One thing back to language I do want to share, because there was a question. Around oral language, there is nothing more important than ensuring that your family in your home is speaking your heritage language. I just can't emphasize enough, in a world where there could be risk in the near term for trying to speak limited English, the harm that's being done by a society that's demanding that assimilation can't be overstated. Children need to hear the rich, powerful words of total devotion and affection and safety and connection in their home language. They'll code switch out of that language into both languages. In some way, it's like a runner who stays in the back of the pack for the first 3 laps. The multilingual learners might look slightly behind in vocabulary in both languages until the last lap of 4th or 5th grade. Then they're going to run by everybody else and they're going to leave everybody else in the dust. So I just can't emphasize that enough. In fact, Grady Hospital, if a family who speaks a different language than English leaves Grady speaking limited English, they define that as a failed delivery. They did not make the point to that family how crucial it was to speak the language of their heritage.
And I'm not sure if I mentioned, it was important for us tonight to ensure, in Clayton County, we have over 72 languages spoken among our non-English speaking population. And tonight we have interpretive services in Spanish and Vietnamese as our chief language areas. But it's so important that everyone has access to this conversation. And so, Mr. Gates, thank you for going back, emphasizing that point.
I just had a question. Outside of speech therapists in the school, are there any resources or outlets that parents can use to help literacy?
Dr. Johnson, do you want to speak or have a team member speak to some of our resources in the school district?
Yes, so, I'm sorry. So as far as resources, we have a plethora of resources. We have something called Amira, and if your child is in any of our elementary schools, they have access to Amira, and it really helps them with their language development, as well as the phonemic awareness. And we also have decodables. You can ask your teacher. Those decodables can go home with your student if needed. And then also now we have, we're teaching using the, sorry. Turn right here. Okay, I'm talking to you. I'm sorry. All right.
Got your back to me.
Okay. So yes, we have Amira. I don't know if we got that on camera, but every student has access to Amira, and they can use that at home. It does require technology, but you can use it on a phone as well as a laptop. If need be, we also have decodables that come with our HMH reading resource that students can use. Team in the back, do we have any other resources that I have not named or mentioned that parents can use at home with their students, reading resources? Okay, so we have parent engagement. activities that they can use that's located outside. Also, I do want to say that our literacy team, they have parent nights at our libraries. We had 2 last night. And they do them all over the district where parents can come to learn what they can do at home. So I would like to encourage you all to do that. They have monthly parent engagement nights at the libraries across Clayton County. So if you're interested in knowing how to help your child at home, that's a good way to do that.
Okay.
To learn that. Okay.
One more?
Yes.
Who's next? You can check with her.
They had, okay, and then she'll, and that'll be our last question, just for time.
Ms. Edith Bautista from Bat Middle School. Is Abel. Mom has a question. He has an IEP, so he has a learning disability in reading. She wants to know what can she do to help it at home with reading?
And let me just add this, all of our schools have a parent resource room, and we have parent liaisons in every school, so if you need to reach out to get any resources that we may have in the schools, just reach out to the parent liaison. Every school has one, and they have a resource room that's resource rich, okay?
And Dr. Johnson or another team member, I know we just administered our beginning of the year assessment, and there's a parent component that breaks down students' reading skills and areas of need. How can our parents get access to that report and really get feasible ways to support, as Mr. Gates said, from a parent lens at home?
We actually have AMIRA reports that will be coming home. All of our students in elementary school actually took the AMIRA assessment, the BOY assessment for AMIRA. So those notices will be coming home in the next couple of weeks. And it explains how your students scored. And if you have additional questions, I would definitely recommend reaching out to your child's teacher, because they can always share additional information.
And I want to just reiterate something we heard from Libby too, and Ms. Everett around, and Mr. Gates earlier, getting mouths on the page, finding out our child's reading level, and working with the media specialists or the public library, and getting books that are within their reading range where they can understand about 90% of the words on the page. And getting practices reading and talking about their reading and making it enjoyable to just fill their minds up with the language and rich vocabulary. I know that's not the ultimate solution, but at the end of the day, we want our kids reading and having social experiences with text and as Dr. Hendricks said earlier, escaping with it to get to the benefits of being a reader. We're wanting to get beyond students learning to read, so that they can truly read for enjoyment, expression, deep reading, being civil-minded and civically engaged in this world. And so that's why we're here. And I'm so glad you all are asking very meaningful questions, because that means you want to partner with us to ensure we're raising readers.
Did we answer her question about the IEP?
Okay.
We got
All right, so we had a question about the IEP. So we do have a case manager in every school. So every student who has an IEP is assigned a case manager in the school. So you can reach out to that person, and at the beginning of the year, you should receive information on who that case manager is. Okay, oh, I'm sorry, okay.
And
add something else.
And introducing Dr. April Crawford. She's our Deputy Superintendent for Student Support Services, and she oversees our exceptional department, our special needs students department.
And I just wanted to add, our students with disability can benefit from hearing a book read to them as well. You continue to read to your child at home, continue to promote the oral language and the vocabulary. Don't act as if the disability is a handicap where they can't learn. They can learn, they just learn differently. So we're going to continue to promote, just as you would any other student or any other child that you have, the love for reading. So continue to support that in the same manner. When you're working with your parents, when you're going to your IEP meeting with the teachers, make sure you share some of the things that you observe at home, some of the strengths that they have, and then some of the areas that you still may see the deficits, so you can engage and have great conversations so that you can be able to determine next steps for your child. But always don't read behind, read ahead. You want to expose them as much as possible. So don't limit them with the disability.
Thank you. So This concludes our Let's Talk Literacy session with the questions. Before we close out, I do want to acknowledge some special guests that really speak to, again, the commitment of the work. So we have our board member, Ms. Victoria Williams. She has a heart for Forest Park. This is her area. Forest Park, you all do incredible things with supporting the community, and so just a model leader. So thank you for your support. Yes.
I just wanted to say, I can stand. Hello, everybody. I just had some advice for the reading. So I have 3 boys. They all like 7 years apart. They all went to Forest Park Middle High School. So I'm always on the road, dropping off soccer practice, tutoring, band. So I always get them to bring a book to the car and turn the music off and have them read to you in the car. Then the word they don't know, you just tell them to spell the word out and give it to them that way. So once you get home, you know you're tired. Once I get home and hit that recliner, that's a wrap. So I gotta do almost everything in the car. That's where I get my best, my best thinking in that car.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. And that's actually our first strategy. Everyone received a bookmarker, and the first one is talking on the go, and it falls right under there. And I also want to recognize someone who was a leading literacy person when I first came to central office and just watched her leadership. It's State Representative Rhonda Bernot. And so she just said, I just remember from Read Across America Days and Day One initiatives. And just so thank you, Ms. Bernot, again, for being a staunch supporter of literacy in our community. So this concludes Let's Talk Literacy. I do want to acknowledge it. Episode 2, yes, just to conclude episode 2. I do want to acknowledge, yes, I'm getting there, yes. So I first want to acknowledge it's National Hispanic Heritage Month, and we, in Clayton County Public Schools, we celebrate diversity and inclusion. Our superintendent gave me permission to share that. And so we really wanted to make sure that we acknowledge that and honor it. Tonight, everyone is walking away with what I feel to be is a great text because it's a bilingual text. So it's the Paletero Man. And in the book, the little one, Las Paletas, which are popsicles, which is why we're giving away popsicles tonight. But it's a text that has Espanol as well as Ingles. And so we hope that you enjoy this text. It's one of my daughter's favorite books to read. And I really want to thank the superintendent and our Clayton County Public Schools Foundation for supporting the distribution. Now I want to really give huge thank yous to Principal Kimberly Dancy. She was a former media specialist, so literacy is in her heart. So thank you, Dr. Dancy, to you and your team, your staff, for just hosting us. I also have to acknowledge our Teaching and Learning Strategic Improvement Division under the leadership of Dr. Delphia Young, who's in the back. I'm sure she has her notes and feedback soon. And also our school leadership team members that walk hand in hand with teaching and learning and student support services. As well, I want to thank Interpretive Services for being here, providing language access that is so important. I would like to acknowledge the communications team for being very present from the journey and the concept to execution for being here, the team members there. I want to thank the Rollins Center, Atlanta Speech Schools, particularly Comer Yates, who is the rock star of reading. Thank you, Dr. Hendricks, for what you do with making sure we're moving in the right direction under the leadership of Dr. Smith with prioritizing literacy and keeping a pulse on it. I want to thank our parents, Ms. Everett and Libby, for being a part of the panel discussion. And thank you to facilities maintenance and technology. I'm not sure if they're present. And before I thank our superintendent, I have to acknowledge 2 more groups. Engagement Department for helping us with setup and decoration, but also all of you. It's a sea of everyone here. I mean, it's just a beautiful image from the front. And our superintendent, if he would stand, and let's all acknowledge him for just his vision, his boldness, with ensuring no dead ends for all of our students. This concludes episode 2 of Let's Talk Literacy. Thank you. So at this time, we have